Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Blue Jays today, folks. The Christmas edition, everybody. We're here, obviously not in the usual set, but back at home with the fam. But this is the Blue Jays Today difference, folks, because we ain't stopping, we ain't quitting. There's stuff to talk about right now. Free agency news that we got to get into, and especially things going on with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his current contract negotiations and potential extension. Let me tell you, you're not going to like what we have to say about it, folks. But lots of stuff to get into today. I hope that all of you guys are having a wonderful holiday season right now at home with your families. Adam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's been a nice, relaxing weekend, visiting some family. We're obviously back here, back in the hometown of Brampton. So shout out to everyone who's from Brampton, everyone. But I just couldn't stop getting off my phone because I kept getting all these updates. First of all, free agent updates. I kept seeing other people fly off the board. We're going to talk about that and how frustrating that is. But secondly, hearing the update about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and what he was initially offered after his MVP 2 year in 2021, that was absolutely ridiculous. And I broke down the AAV, and I'm comparing it to other MVPs around the league, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So we'll talk about all that and more, guys. We're going to get into all that. But shout out to the 100 people who are in here on December 23rd. Let's go. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Blue Jays Today. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's pure insanity, man. Just like pure and utter insanity. And like I made a little short on it, just reacting to the news yesterday. And this is from Vladdy, by the way, folks. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. literally came out and said this himself, right? So we know it is reputable. Like if that's the way that they're going to be approaching these contract extensions, and if that's the way that they are just like, addressing free agents and all this stuff in general, we're cooked. We really are cooked. Like the guys in free agency, and we're not getting anybody this winter if that's how we're addressing things. Pulling it up right here, everybody. What we're referring to. This is Guerrero on the Abriendo Sports Podcast. It's a good podcast. They had him on. They were talking about his free agency and just his contract, or not free agency, but potential free agency and contract extensions and all that stuff right now. And he came out and was completely transparent and said, after that 2021 year, the year where he almost won MVP, folks, he got offered $150 million for 7 years. Then he went on to say that $340 million that, we were all talking about recently, it's like, it came out that, he'd been offered that and everything. Well, that was after the Juan Soto contract and everything huge. That happened there. So, I mean, like the evaluations right now from this from this front office, from the Toronto Blue Jays, the evaluations that they have on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it is fucking way off, dude.
Yeah, and you got to speculate how much or how long this $340 million contract is. But I think the number being tossed around, let's say 12 years, because obviously if you do 10 years, that's $34 million, which still isn't enough. Let's say you were doing 12 years. That's $28 million per year. Are you kidding me? Do you guys really think that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at his age, doing what he's doing, is not worth enough of what Alex Bregman's trying to get this free agency after the years that he's put up at his career at his age? It's actually blasphemous. If this is where you're starting, it's just like, let's not even talk about this anymore, right? And then you're looking at the MVP year 21. That's $21 million rounded out. $21 million? Less than George Springer?
Wow.
Like that's insane. Like this is like where
at that point.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like at that point, I mean, there's just no incentive if you're him to sign that at that point. There's
Absolutely
just no incentive, like especially maybe they were looking over at the Atlanta Braves and thinking to themselves, we can pull a fast one on them here. No,
right?
No, it's because I'm thinking about the Acuna contract. I'm thinking about the Ozzie Albies contract and all that stuff. Listen, the book is out. Players realize how much value they actually hold, and $150 million, $21 million a year. It's almost disrespectful. In fact,
laugh him out of the room at that point. Like, no, seriously, that's laughable, right? And I mean, where does that leave us now? If 340 was after the Juan Soto contract, because we heard before it was before the Juan Soto contract. Like if it was before, I could absolutely understand why they would offer that. We were talking it was between 300, 350. They wanted to try to get him in before they saw the number. But now if it was after, that's honestly disrespectful in its own right, because you know that Vladdy is going to be worth a lot more, knowing that he is going to be one of the younger free agents, more attractive free agents on the market next season. So it's ridiculous. And where does that leave us now? Well, he did come out and said, this was by Ben Nicholson Smith right here. Let me pull it up. That there is essentially, guys, a deadline. He's laid it out. There's a deadline for the Toronto Blue Jays to get this deal done. Ben Nicholson Smith says here, when he spoke on his podcast as well, taking it right from the podcast, that he has been discussing possible extension with the Blue Jays, as we know, and he's, quote, ready to go on a long-term deal for the right offer. All right. Also, he also says he doesn't plan to negotiate after the first full day of spring training, and Jays front office knows this. So they're aware of the deadline. The first full day, if anyone's wondering, and I looked it up, people were wondering, well, is it the first spring training appearance? Is it the first game? Well, people are saying it's the first full day of spring training activities, so it's before the games, which will be either November 17th February 17th or February 18th. That's less than 2 months away from a deadline, a potential deadline before we enter the regular season. And, you know, all respect to Vladdy, you're well within your right to go, okay, look, if you don't give me an offer before it's time to ramp up for my season, we can't talk, because I'm focused now on getting my bigger payday because you didn't offer it to me. And he's well within his right to do that. What do you make of this, Nick? And where do you think that leaves the Blue Jays' possible chances of getting a deal done before that deadline?
Let me start off with the, Vladdy putting a deadline on this. I mean, that's just standard negotiation tactics, right?
Yeah.
There has to be an element of urgency to getting this done. And the second that spring training and that baseball activities and everything like that starts, well, at that point, like there's no incentive anymore for him to sign this contract. Because what I've been saying this whole time is you got to give him a deal that allows him to mitigate his risk by playing another season, right? Because you never know what could happen. He could get injured. He could perform badly, whatever. But when the season starts, well, he's already taken on that risk. So the offer at this point, there's no reason for him to sign it. So, yeah, that's just a straight up realistic deadline. I totally agree with them. That's when it should get done. Now, where that leaves the Toronto Blue Jays is they are $100 million or more away from where they need to be with less than 2 months to go. They got less than 2 months to figure out if they're going to be willing to spend $100 or more million on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. than what they're currently willing to do, especially if it came out after the Juan Soto contract, that it was the $340 million. Because there's no way that he's signing for that. He's not signing for $360 or $380. We're not talking about $20 million here or whatever. No, we are talking about the difference of $100 or maybe even $150 million that is not there right now. And I just do not see Ross Atkins or the Toronto Blue Jays front office or the management or anything like that in the 6 weeks that they have, to the deadline day to, magically or whatever, simultaneously come with the realization that we are in fact willing to pay $450 million or more for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's what they have to do if they want to get this extension done. I have negative faith that it's going to happen.
Well, why do we have negative faith? Because we've never seen anything like this before. I mean, think about the guys who were extended under Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro. You had Jose Barrios. I love that deal. I think that was an awesome deal. But, it was in the lower $100 million. Then you had Randall Grichuk. That was $55 million, $50 million, 5-year deal. That was a safer extension option. They have never even come close to extending a guy like this. Granted, they've never had a caliber player like this under their regime. But to ask what you're saying to offer them way more money is a lot, because I threw out a number today. Shout out to Blue Jays Nation, who's they're making a little article about our Christmas wish list. And part of my Christmas wish list was I want Vladdy for 12 years, $480 million. That's $40 million per year. That is a very respectful offer. And I think that's in the realm of possibilities of upside of what he could get at this point right now.
I think that a big problem here is honestly the position that he plays and
Yeah.
how Ross Atkins views and values the defense.
Yeah.
I think that that's honestly the big problem, right? You're kind of seeing a similar thing happen right now to a lesser extent, but a similar thing happen right now with Pete Alonso. I was actually reading up very recently on the fact that his market isn't nearly what he anticipated it was going to be. And when you think about it, you're talking about a guy that year in and year out, mashes 35 home runs or more. But because his defense isn't so good, and because he's a first baseman, and because, in a couple of years, he's probably just going to be a DH, these people, these executives aren't valuing him the way that he thinks he should be valued. We know that Ross Atkins loves his defense. We know that he loves his versatility, right? How many utility guys or Swiss Army knife infielders do we have to have, right? He loves all that shit. So I truly believe like this is him not valuing the hitting and the offense that Guerrero provides, comparatively to what he does in the field and everything like that. And I just don't see like if that's actually the case. I think I'm on something there. If that's the case,
I think you froze right there, Nick. I think you froze right there. But until you come back, look, I think it's actually ridiculous that we have this management that values defense so much that they can't see the value in a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Oh, there you're back. You're back.
Yeah.
They can't see it, but they can't see the value in a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. If they actually think, oh, like he doesn't play a good enough defense, so we're willing to splash some money. You got to open up your effing eyes, guys. I thought you guys were business people. If you're truly business people, you let Vladdy walk. What does that do to your business? You're letting the face of your franchise walk away because you are stuck in your valuations and you can't see it any other way. If that's the case, then my goodness, add that to the effing long resume of reasons why you should be firing this front office. Also, real quick shout out here to the just in the nick of time with a $5 dono. Let's go saying, boys, I think he's going to leave because he's obviously feeling disrespected by management. This will crush our team. Fire Atkins, get someone better. So that's exactly my point right there is, look, yeah, if they let him walk, fuck. It's game over, man. And I would be pounding my head against a brick wall if it wasn't game over for this front office if they let him walk.
Completely agree with everything that you said, even though I missed about half of it because my thing was buffering and rendering right there. So apologies for that, everybody. Obviously, we're working through the technical difficulties, recording in a place that we don't normally do it, and the internet here isn't the 100% best. So with all that being said, and considering the internet is the way of it, let's move on and transition before I get kicked out completely to some of the free agents that are flying off the board right now. I got an update on my phone while we were live. Jock Peterson, he just signed a 2-year deal with the, I think it was the Texas Rangers or somebody like that. But he's off the board now as well. This is after Sean Manaea's left. This is after Walker Buehler's gone. Like, we're talking about, like, big-time free agents that are just flying off the board right now. And the Toronto Blue Jays seemingly have just nothing going on with them. They're not doing anything at all. I'm starting to believe, and I hate this, but I'm starting to believe that Ben Nicholson-Smith and Shai Davidi are 100% right when they came out and they said that actually more than 50% of the spending that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do this offseason has already been done. That is fucking scary, man. And I hate that I'm starting to buy into it, but all these guys are flying off the board, and the Toronto Blue Jays are nowhere to be seen.
No, I agree, and I didn't want to believe it. I mean, literally on Friday, someone brought it up saying that exact quote of, like, we're more than 50% done, and I didn't want to believe it because I'm like, well, it can't be because I keep coming back to the whole fact that we're trying to be competitive, and obviously everybody and their dog knows you can only be competitive if you're getting these big-time free agent bats. Right? I mean, the starting pitcher is always a luxury. We obviously need bullpen help. We don't have an effing closer, but we need to get at least one, if not two, big-time free agent bats. So how the hell can we be competitive if we don't get those guys? Well, it feels like if Andres Gimenez, and I've said this when we traded for him, if Andres Gimenez is the only move, we are not going to be competitive. If that is the move and everything else is like, a tier below that, then we're gonna suck next season, guys. I'm gonna show you guys the remaining big time free agents. I kind of whipped up this tweet this morning, just the remaining big time free agents that we could possibly be looking for this offseason. And I mean, there's still some big names, right? You got Teoscar Hernandez, Pete Alonso, you brought up, Alex Bregman, Anthony Santander. Those are the big 4 bats right there. Then, of course, you get into the pitchers: Corbin Burns, Kenley Jansen, Jack Flaherty, Jose Quintana, Ha-Seong Kim's kind of a random dart throw. I mean, we already got our shortstop / second base addition right there, and then Tanner Scott. So, where do you really think, Nick, that we're going to get one of those, any of these guys at this point, if 50% of the work is already done? Oh, I think you might be frozen. All right. Well, I'll answer my own question for y'all. No. If 50% of the work is already done, I can't see us getting Teoscar Hernandez. Definitely not Pete Alonso. Definitely not Alex Bregman. Maybe Anthony Santander. I mean, the whole thing with Teoscar Hernandez and Nick. I'll wait for Nick to come back here. The whole thing with Teoscar Hernandez is that, I mean, look, if Teoscar Hernandez, is leaning away from the Dodgers, maybe I'd give him that. But other than that, I don't think so. Here, we got Nick back here, everybody. Again, technical difficulties right here. We're in some weak Wi-Fi, but I'll throw you the question, Nick. Do you think that there's a realm of possibility we land any of these guys based on what we've been hearing about maybe we could be done this offseason?
Like maybe maybe a Tanner Scott, maybe a Ha-Seong Kim, because Kim's got great defense, and
maybe you play some third. I don't know
that. But I was talking to my dad about this in the car this morning about Teoscar Hernandez and Corbin Burns and whatever, and I mean ultimately they're just waiting until the team that they actually want gives them the offer that they want.
Yeah.
And the only way that you were ever going to convince those guys to come to the Toronto Blue Jays, in Hernandez's case, come all the way back to the Toronto Blue Jays, is you're giving them 25 or 30 more million dollars than market value.
Right.
That's just what it is. And then maybe even some more on top of that, because you got to factor in, well, you're going to get taxed a hell of a lot more over here. So it's probably more like $50 million over market value. We're just not willing to do that, man.
No.
I think what we're learning right now, especially after hearing that these, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension talks and all that stuff, him exposing the contract offer, they're not willing to spend the money that we thought or hoped that they would be, they're just not willing to invest in that anymore. They made enough money last year. I know that they have their contract or excuse me.
We're just buffering for 1 second, y'all. Buffering for 1 second. Also, real quick, while we're waiting for it to come back, shout out to Jennifer Tourout with the $139 dono. Thank you so much. Everyone's saying Vlad is the closest Blue Jays will ever come to a Soto, and that's absolutely right. I mean, hell, if what we're learning right here, and to kind of go off of what Nick's saying, we're learning that the Blue Jays, they sold us a bill of goods, and it's a bunch of lies. They told us, oh yeah, we're going to be competitive. Oh yeah, we're going to do everything we can to bring a winning team. We're going to do all that. Well, the reality is that window's over because they decided that they weren't willing to spend any more when you needed to spend more. And that window's over. And if anybody, especially the front office, tries to sell you on the fact that this team is going to be competitive and this team is going to make a run at it, what they're selling you is just hope, and a lot of hope. Hell, I had hope last year that this team was going to be competitive, and we sucked. 74 wins? We're even worse right now than we were last year. I can guarantee that we are way worse than we were last year. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible, guys. Unless something changes, unless we grab one of these guys, I don't even think one of these guys actually saves us, honestly. We need two. If we get a Jack Flaherty and Teoscar Hernandez, we have a conversation right now for at least just next year. But if we don't, we're hoping for a lot of things to go wrong because the Boston Red Sox, they just added, okay? They added Walker Buehler. Their rotation is starting to look a little bit more thicker and nicer. They already have a great lineup. They already added to their bullpen. They're going to be competitive. Yankees are doing everything in their power to be competitive in 2025. They're doing everything in their power to be competitive in 2025 after losing Juan Soto. Orioles is still a good team. I still think they're better than us, even though they lose Corbin Burns. We're hoping for a lot to go right. While we're waiting for Nick to come back, everybody, let's give a real quick shout out to the sponsor of this Blue Jays Today show.
Hey guys, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only, must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody. If you guys are sports bettors, make sure you go download the app in the description, everybody. We got a Betway little bet here. And I wish Nick was here because I made this specifically for him. He's also in the chat, everybody, saying internet crapped out again. Sorry, guys. We'll let him take the reins here and finish things off. Happy holidays, everybody. Shout out to Nick. Sorry, man. I guess the internet, it was a little weak over there. That's what happens, guys. We're doing a little holiday show, so things are going to happen that we can't control. But I'm sure if Nick was here, he would say, take Packers. Take Packers all the way. We actually have a little bet where we didn't take the spread we took an alternate spread, not the -14.5. I think we took -6.5. And even that wasn't great odds because how dominant the Packers are over the Saints. They're in Lambeau Field against a crappy team in the Saints. Money line is barely going to get you anything. If you are looking for it, if you truly believe the Saints, which you shouldn't because they have their third string quarterback out there, pick the Saints because that's incredible odds. But I would not be doing that. Yeah, I'd be taking they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. Packers by 1 million, says Nick. So there you go. So shout out to Betway once again for that. To kind of finish it off, I'll guess what I'll do here, y'all. Give me your questions in the chat. I'll answer some questions for this holiday season. I'm going to give you guys a list of a few things that I want on my holiday wish list. I got 2 things on my holiday wish list. Shout out to Blue Jays Nation. They're going to be coming out with an article about this. I've got 2 things on my holiday wish list. I already said one. Give me Vladimir Guerrero Jr., $480 million, 12 years. That's $40 million per year. Bing, bang, bong, done. Because here's the thing. We sign him, our entire outlook of this organization changes. Because, A, we go from, okay, maybe we can, here's the thing. If we went into this roster next season, but with a Vladdy extension, we're still going to lose. You know what I mean? We're probably going to still be last in the AL East. But at least what we get here is an opportunity to build upon that for the following seasons. Because you're going to have Bo Bichette coming off the books. You're going to have Chris Bassett coming off the books. In 2026, you're going to have Kevin Gausman coming off the books. You're going to have Dolan Varsho coming off the books. George Springer coming off the books. That's a lot of money right there. And you might be saying, well, that's a lot of good players coming off the books. Well, they're also getting older. We don't know how they're going to perform the next couple of years. But at least you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the books. And you could start to build around that. Your core would now become Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Andres Jimenez, Jose Barrios if he decides to stay, and Yario Rodriguez. That's a decent core to start with at least. Then maybe some prospects come up, Elvis Martinez. Hopefully he has a great year. And you start to look at the future a little bit more brighter. Whereas if you don't have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., now you're looking at a very bleak future where, yes, all those guys are going to come off the books and leave, and there's going to be nobody left. There's literally going to be nobody left on this ball team to win games. Now, the other thing on my holiday wish list, speaking of which, I think one thing would make it a lot easier for us if this guy broke out. I need Elvis Martinez to give me 25 home runs at the big league level. Give me 25 home runs and an 800 OPS. Now, that's a lot to ask a guy in his first year in the big leagues. But look, we have no future. Beyond Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we've got no future. Out of all of our prospects, who could you say is the most tantalizing one? I can't give you. Some people might say it's Addison Barger. Some people might say it's Jonathan Clase, Will Wagner, right? We don't know. We don't know. But if Elvis Martinez being the guy he is, highly touted with power, and if you look at his MILB advanced metrics, he's in the top of the league in the minor leagues in terms of exit velo, hard hit rate, all that kind of stuff. If you actually bring this guy to the big leagues and he hits you 25 home runs at least next year in his first season at the age of 24? Dude, or was it 23? He's very young. Dude, that is absolutely phenomenal. That is an absolutely great start to what could be the beginning of the next wave of guys, but he may not still be a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That is the one thing. He's not touted like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The third thing on my Christmas wish list, everybody, and this one I really want. I want a new front office. It's not going to happen. It's like asking Santa for give me a golf simulator. You know, yeah, you're not getting a golf simulator for Christmas, but for me, but I can wish. Maybe I can start the funds to save up for a golf simulator, or in this case, we can start to build the case for getting rid of the front office. I truly think a lot of things would change. Imagine if you had a more aggressive front office, you might get the deal done. Of course, there's the whole factor of Rogers Communication offering the money to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here long term. But I don't believe that this front office has the capability of getting the job done. They've never had the capability of getting the job done. Not with you need to sell a new vision. The vision's over, right? And they don't have the capability of doing that. Also, someone asked, where did I get the sweater from? I actually shout out to my aunt. She gave me the sweater. This is from 1993, like literally the World Series. And she gave this to me last year. And I didn't want to wear it because I was too scared of ruining it. But I was like, you know what? This sweater is really, really nice. I'm going to wear it. Any questions here in the chat before we go? What's left on Ross Atkins' contract? I believe he is done after the season. Let me check. Let me just double check for you. I think Shapiro's 2026. Let's see. Through the end of 2026. Okay, no, he's also 2026. I think Shapiro's 2025. I think I might have flipped them. Yeah, I think you got to cut him a year early. Absolutely. Where else here? Do. Are the Jays going to piss Vladdy off with their arbitration offer? Well, here's the thing. I think right now they're negotiating contract talks. That's another thing I actually didn't consider. Maybe they go and they get the final deal done in their arbitration. You've seen that sometimes where players go to arbitration and then they get a deal done. Granted, this is a completely different type of player. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. we're talking about. But maybe that's what speeds up the process and really puts them like, okay, you either get this deal done here or we're going to sign another one-year deal, figure it out later. I don't know. I really don't believe it's going to happen still, but you never know. The Dakota says, what do you think Vladdy gets on the open market if he hits less than 850 OPS this year? It's a good question. I mean, that's another thing to consider, right? We're all assuming, just like we did after 2021, that immediately Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a phenomenal player, right? Well, it may not necessarily be the case. He's been an up-and-down guy his entire career. So what if, yeah, you're right, he hits under 850. Does that change his market? I think he would get less than what we're projecting, like 480, but I think it still starts with a 4. I think you still try to lock up a talent like that. Maybe a low 4. You know, again, it all depends on what happens. It all depends on the market. It all depends on all these other factors, right? But if he does exactly what he does next year, boom, I'm guaranteeing it's at least 450. If not, I can see it being 500 depending on market value, 100%. If he does what he did this last season, absolutely. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it right there, everybody, for this stream. It's a little short one here today, but that's essentially all the news right now. Again, Blue Jays news. Your boys are going to jump on to this live stream right here during the holidays. Hopefully we'll have some better internet at the time. But I appreciate you guys. 272 of y'all in here. Actually, here's one more for my Christmas wish list. I hope you guys stay loyal to the Blue Jays Today community. We're here for the long run, because look, this is going to be a very painful season. If you guys checked out my video room, it's very, very depressing. It's going to be a very, very painful season. We need to cope together, okay? We need just to get all the feelings out, and that's what the show is. And I feel like the Blue Jays Today show turned from hopeful, let's analyze these guys, let's really break down how they're going to win the next game, how they're going to win this series, to everything sucks. I'm depressed. Let's fire everybody and hope for a better future. So I hope you guys will remain here in the new year. Thank you guys so much for watching, everybody. And as always, happy holidays. And as always, go Jays, go.